You woke up today? Maybe you started the engine, maybe you kissed someone goodbye, maybe your radio played your favorite song on the way to work. Over 100 people did the exact same thing this morning, except they didn't make it where they were going. They're gone. Their cars crumpled, flipped, slammed, or ignited, and in just a matter of seconds, a moment turned into a tragedy. I wish that sounded dramatic. I wish that were an exaggeration. But in the United States, more than 40,000 people die in car crashes every single year. That's equivalent to a commercial plane crashing every day, killing everyone on board, and we've just accepted it, normalized it. The real shock? Most of the causes behind these deaths aren't wild stunts or drug-fueled joyrides, they're closer to home. Today, we're counting down the 10 most shocking, brutal, and often ignored facts about fatal car accidents that every American driver needs to hear. Let's get started, not to scare you, not to guilt you, to wake you up. Because your car doesn't have to be your casket, but if you don't understand how quickly it can become one, you're already at risk. Let's start with one that'll punch you in the gut. 10 most fatal accidents happen close to home. You've maybe heard this but never really thought about what it means. Over 75% of fatal car crashes occur within 25 miles of the victim's home. Why? Familiarity kills urgency. We stop paying attention to roads we know. We unbuckle for just one block. We get too confident pulling into that same left turn we've taken 1,000 times. That four-way stop by the grocery store, that flashing yellow by your kid's school, those intersections are the death zones because we think we've mastered them. But driving is a live-fire exercise, every minute, every mile. Fatality doesn't wait until you've left your zip code. 9 Speeding doesn't just increase your chances, it changes physics. Look, we've all done it. 5 over, 10 over, maybe more, you're late for work. Kids are screaming in the back, you just want to get there. But here's the reality, speed isn't just a ticket risk, it's a force multiplier. When you double your speed, your stopping distance doesn't double, it quadruples. Your car's kinetic energy is squaring itself. A pedestrian hit at 20 mph likely survives. At 40 mph they likely die. At higher speeds your seatbelt won't be enough, your airbag might not react in time. And the crash energy in high-speed collisions can tear through crumple zones and body shells like tissue paper. So when police say speed was a factor, what they really mean is, the laws of physics turn someone's everyday mistake into a death sentence. 8 Distractions kill more than drunk drivers. This one shocks people. Distracted driving, especially from smartphones, kills more drivers than alcohol-related crashes in many U.S. states. Why? Because it's universal. Drunk driving takes poor judgment. Phone distraction takes no judgment at all, it just takes a buzz, a ping, a notification, one glance at a text, one scroll through Spotify to find the right playlist. At highway speed, looking down for 5 seconds is like driving blindfolded for the length of a football field. Crash investigators in Texas studied dozens of rear-end collisions, the ones where no one hits the brakes. In more than 68% of them, the driver's phone screen was active within 30 seconds of impact. People don't even remember doing it. One dad reached for a dropped French fry at the bottom of the console. He never saw the car stalled in his lane. His daughter in the back didn't survive. He wasn't intoxicated. He didn't mean to kill her, but distraction is unforgiving every time. 7 The deadliest driving behavior isn't road rage, it's benign neglect. Here S1 your insurance company won't put in their ads, minor maintenance issues can and do turn deadly, bald tires, weak brakes, burnt-out taillights, misaligned steering. These aren't just mechanical inconveniences, they're silent killers. 1 out of every 5 fatal crashes involves a vehicle with at least one critical mechanical failure, and most of them were entirely preventable. People treat their check engine light like background decoration. They think that the brake pedal feeling a little soft can wait until next paycheck. But when your pad goes metal to metal, when your tire busts tread on a rainy curve, when your alignment drifts just 1 inch at highway speed, your car stops being a machine. It becomes a missile. We had a customer, single mom, Jeep Liberty. She came in twice because her steering wheel kept pulling left. Her ball joint failed on the freeway. The wheel snapped mid-lane. She survived with a fractured pelvis. Her 9-year-old son wasn't as lucky. That repair would have cost $180. Sometimes, peace of mind is the cheapest upgrade. Speaking of survival, did you know most people don't die in the crash itself? 6. Most people don't die in the crash. They die after. This one's dark but necessary. You assume crash equals death. But over 50% of car accident victims don't actually die on impact. They bleed out, they asphyxiate, they succumb to sepsis or hypothermia or medical delays because no one knew how to stabilize them or no one tried. The real tragedy? A functioning seatbelt, a properly stored roadside survival kit, or a trained passenger can mean the difference between a 911 call and a coroner van. There was a teen in Georgia ejected in a rollover because he had a seatbelt behind his back, the old belt it so the chime stops move. He survived the crash, but he suffocated under his own weight when the car landed crushed side down. First responders arrived 11 minutes later. Too late. This is why we emphasize not just how a crash happens, but what you can do in the moments after. Where do you keep your window breaker? Do you even have one? What about a trauma pack? Do your kids know how to get out if doors are jammed? If those questions made you pause, you're already vulnerable. And if you're thinking, well, that's for emergency responders to worry about, let me be clear, responders arrive as fast as they can, but in those first moments, the first responder is usually you. Let's move to facts 5 through 1. In the next section, we'll dive into facts number 5 through 1, including the shocking data on rural versus urban fatalities, how nearly every fatal accident involves something predictable, and what one thing you can do that cuts your risk almost in half. By the end of this video, you'll never look at your daily drive the same way again. Your car is the most powerful thing you touch every single day. Respect it, or it will remind you the hard way. Let's keep this going. 5. Rural roads are deadlier than any freeway. People assume interstates are where fatalities happen. High speeds, heavy traffic, crazy lane changes. But you'd be shocked to learn that over 55% of fatal accidents in America happen on rural roads. That's two-lane highways, county roads, scenic routes. Why? Because rural crashes come with 3 lethal ingredients: higher speed limits, fewer medians or guardrails, slower emergency response times. When you crash out there, help isn't 5 minutes away. Many EMS teams in rural counties operate with volunteer squads, and when seconds count, minutes kill. A man in Iowa flipped his pickup outside city limits, rolled into a ditch. Alive but pinned, no one saw. The nearest property was 300 feet from the road and covered in trees. First responders found him 47 minutes later. He'd bled out. Had he gone off a crowded expressway, he might have been saved. So the next time you're driving the back way to avoid traffic, remember, that quiet country road is where more Americans die every year than I-95, I-10, and I-80 combined. 4. Fatal crashes always have a pattern but never feel like one right before. If you've ever read a local headline that said something like, "Car lost control, skidded into oncoming traffic," or "Driver overcorrected and crossed the center line," you hear those words so often you almost tune out. The truth is, nearly every fatal accident sounds the same after it happens. But before it happens, it never feels like the moment before a crash. It feels normal. It's a long day and your eyes are heavy. It's cold out and you didn't brush off the back window. It's 5 seconds of a song on your phone that you just had to skip. It's reaching for the paper bag, tipping over on the floorboard. You'd be shocked how often a fatal crash starts with a full cup of coffee tipping toward someone's lap. We've seen it. A driver overcorrects for a deer and hits a tree. But it wasn't the deer that killed them, it was the fact their tires had been bald for 8 months before it happened, and they slid 40% further than they should have. Crash investigators don't just look at what happened, they look at when the driver lost control. In that moment, it's always something small. The crash is the result, but the cause starts quietly. 3. Safety features don't save careless drivers. We live in a world where cars can brake for us, alert us to lane drift, flash lights when someone's in our blind spot. But guess what? Despite more safety tech today than ever before, fatality rates aren't dropping fast enough. And in some years, they've gone up. Why? Because people rely on safety systems as a substitute for safe behavior. They assume blind spot monitors mean they don't have to turn their head anymore. They brake later at stops because their car will alert them. They let go of the wheel slightly on curves because lane assist will help steer. But technology is still reactive. It doesn't prevent the weather, it doesn't account for other people's stupidity, and it sure doesn't override your bad decisions. In one terrible case, a driver in Colorado came around a descent curve too fast in a Mercedes with radar braking. The assistant detected the slow-moving truck just late enough. He never touched the brake himself, trusted the car. When impact came, the Mercedes bounced off the guardrail and rolled twice. Two teenagers in the back weren't wearing seatbelts. Both were ejected. If that driver had braked manually or taken the curve with attention, there wouldn't have been a crash in the first place. But he outsourced his awareness to a system that can't make up for judgment. Two men are far more likely to die in crashes, but everyone thinks they're the better driver. This statistic isn't new, but it's still ignored. Men account for over 70% of traffic fatalities in the U.S. More aggressive behaviors, more speeding, less seatbelt usage, and more risk-taking behind the wheel. But here's the twist. When surveyed, both men and women reported they believed men were the better drivers, so let me make this clear. Confidence behind the wheel doesn't save lives. Awareness does, defensive habits do. Humility does. Women tend to brake sooner, follow more space, and obey signs more strictly. Those traits keep people alive. But culturally, we've glorified risky drivers. We think assertive means skilled. We think fast reflexes mean preparedness. None of that matters when a tire blows out, or someone slams on their brakes in front of you, or a child darts into the street while you're adjusting Spotify. Skill doesn't determine whether you die in a crash, choices do. And all too often, the self-proclaimed great drivers are driving like it's their personal racetrack until one day it is. It's a phone call to a wife, a newspaper story with your plate blurred, a reconstruction on asphalt. It's a split-second choice and then it's too late. 1. A seatbelt cuts your chance of dying by nearly 50%. This fact still shocks me, not because it's complicated but because we still have to say it. Half of all people who die in fatal car crashes each year, they weren't buckled up. Half. The math is that simple. You're twice as likely to survive a severe crash just by clicking your belt. That's it. No airbags, no autonomous lane assist, no reinforced cage. One decision, 1 second, one sound, click. It's wild that with all the tech in the world, the greatest life-saving invention in automotive history is a nylon strap and a metal latch. And yet, people still skip it, still wrap it behind their back, still think their car, their driving skill, or their route is the exception. But death doesn't care if you're a great driver. It doesn't ask what kind of car you drive. It doesn't check your intentions, it only checks your momentum and how you stopped it. We had a crash last year, 2 cars T-boned at 45 mph. Driver A walked away. Driver B was ejected and crushed under their own vehicle. Same impact. The difference? 1 seatbelt. The dead driver's belt was buckled behind him so the warning chime wouldn't bother him during the short trip. 10 minutes later, it was a fatal one. In the final section, I'll give you a rapid-action checklist. The 5 things you can do tonight before bed that could literally make the next 5 years of driving safer for you, for your family, and for the people you'll never meet but might save with one good decision. Because now you know the truth, and what you do next, that's on you. So now you know, you've seen the numbers, the causes, the tragedies, and the truths, and hopefully, just hopefully, you're not in the same mental place you were when you clicked on this video, because that's the point. Not to scare you, not to overwhelm you, but to shake you awake. Because every one of the nearly 40,000 lives lost on U.S. roads this year had plans. They had jobs, families, pets at home, groceries in the trunk, songs they never got to finish. Their cars weren't monsters, their roads weren't cursed, they just made a mistake or someone else did, and there was no second chance. So before we send you off, let's talk about what you can actually do right now, tonight, before you go to sleep, that will reduce your risk moving forward. Here's your road safety power checklist, 5 actions that mean more than any lecture ever could. 1. Inspect your tires. Right now, don't trust them blindly. Go outside, feel the tread, check for bulges, embedded nails, and sidewall cracks. Use the penny test, turn Lincoln's head down, and if you can see the top of his head, your tread is dangerously low. More crashes happen on bald or low-pressure tires than on any other mechanical factor. Blowouts at speed aren't rare, they're lethal. If you're overdue to rotate or replace, do it this week. And for the love of all things safe, check your spare too. A flat spare won't help you when it matters. 2. Build your crash survival kit. A first aid kit is good, but you need more. Go online or hit your local auto store and pick up a seatbelt cutter plus window breaker combo tool. A flashlight with strobe function, emergency glow sticks or triangles, a trauma dressing or tourniquet, glass wipes so your visibility never becomes an excuse again. Keep it all in the glove box or center console, not the trunk. Accidents don't wait for you to crawl around. Your kit doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to be reachable when needed most. 3. Reevaluate your routes, especially the ones you take for granted. Where are your blind intersections? Where's the left turn that always makes you nervous but you take it anyway because it's the shortcut? What part of your route do you always go 10 over because you've never seen a cop there? What roads do you take at night that might not be lit? What about deer zones in rural areas? Look at your routine with a risk-focused lens. Good drivers don't just react better, they avoid danger before it starts. 4. If your car is trying to tell you something, listen. That clunk, that wobble at 45. That scraping noise when you brake, the check engine light is blinking every other Tuesday. That's not your car nagging, that's your car begging. If you heard a strange noise coming from a child's room, you wouldn't just raise the volume on your TV. So why do we ignore those same warning signs from a literal 2-ton machine that flies down the road at 70 mph? Schedule the diagnostic. Run the scan. Fix the known issue before your vehicle decides to make it your last drive ever. 5. The seatbelt rule. All seats. All people, all trips, no exceptions. It's simple. No belt equals no drive. Friends, kids, adults in the back seat, everyone clicks in. That "I'm just in the back" excuse, that mindset kills thousands every year. Rear seat passengers can become projectiles in a crash and can even kill the person in front of them on impact. One final habit here, always check that your belt is routed properly. Low and tight across the hips, never under the arm, never twisted. The belt doesn't work if you don't wear it like it's meant to be worn. And if your passenger complains, tell them, this is life or death, not a comfort question. Because one day, if they survive a crash because you held your ground, they'll thank you for being annoying. They won't thank you if you didn't. Let's close with this. Every car crash death is a tragedy, but the real horror, most are preventable if everyone wore seatbelts. If everyone put their phones down, if everyone respected wet roads, tired eyes, and basic maintenance, we wouldn't lose 40,000 people every year. We'd lose a fraction of that. But here's the truth no one wants to admit: the system won't save us, new laws won't save us. The other driver isn't the only problem. We are, you, me, everyone behind the wheel. We either add to the risk or reduce it. So when you finish this video, I want you to do something powerful, not dramatic, not heroic, just responsible. Do one thing differently today. Take your car in, buckle up more strictly, throw a caution cone in your trunk, tell your teenager they can call you for a ride no matter the hour, because here's the last shocking fact: you'll never know how many accidents you avoided. You'll never be praised for stopping 2 feet early. You'll never meet the kid whose life you saved by driving slower on their street. You'll never get a thank you from the driver whose tailgate you didn't ride when they braked suddenly. But that's what makes safety so human. The reward is silence, empty hospital rooms, a normal Tuesday that stayed normal, a holiday dinner you still have to attend with everyone present. That's worth a reset. That's worth a habit change. That's worth confronting uncomfortable truths. You're not just a car owner, you're a life carrier. Start driving like it. And if this video woke something up in you, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to someone you drive with, share it with your teenager who just got their license. Text it to that friend who always drives eyes down, because one uncomfortable message is better than one unimaginable call. I'm not here to scare you, I'm here to arm you, and if it changed even 1 mile you drive this week, then maybe that mile is the one that keeps someone alive. Be safe and be smart. You're in control until you're not.